everyone, to week 12 of Haibo Does Data, SmashUp's metrics review. As always, I'm here with my co-host Owen. Owen, how's everything going? Happy week of Thanksgiving.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving week. Exciting week, right? I'm
Very exciting.
excited. Well, I know you're going to talk about it, but just excited about the opportunity to work with Scott Fish and the V Foundation. It's a great week.
Yeah, for sure. And we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that later this episode. But first, recap of last week. Another record-breaking week, I would say. History being made. This time on the running back side of things. Yeah, what a week. How'd you do with your teams and stuff?
I did all right, but again, I thought I had Smash Mouth in the bag. Had a nice week, was feeling good, and then that second Saquon run just put me down. So why don't I give you my top five, and we'll see if Saquon comes up. Okay,
Yeah,
number
let's
one,
do
Saquon. What a
it.
game. What else is there to say? I
hmm
mean, just absolutely ridiculous. We'll focus a little more on him later too, I bet. Number two, you heard it here first. Browns over the Steelers. I talked about that last week. That wasn't going to be a game that surprised me, and a fun game to watch in the snow there in the second half, but big win there. Well, not on the other side, number three. Washington losing to Dallas. It's the most painful way. Talk about as a fan to be McLaurin catches the bomb from Daniels, just outruns them, and then you miss the extra point to not force overtime. That was brutal, but still a great game. Number four, how about the Vikings just beat the Bears in OT and the Chiefs beating the Panthers on a last second field goal? I mean, just you go a couple great teams, but just struggling to get by. But a win is a win. So I like seeing that. Number five, Saquon. Do you close with him again? I mean, I don't know. Like you hit on it with roulette locked in there. You guys saw it here. We talked about it last week, and pretty exciting stuff. So let's dive in. But it was a fun week last week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you are a Washington fan, so I'm sure it was extra stressful. As a neutral, that game was incredible. It was an incredibly, I mean, it didn't start out that way. It started out pretty terribly, but that fourth quarter was probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it
Um,
really was. And I mean, what could have been, could have gone to just, but it is that's the game. And great teams find ways to win, and Washington's not doing that right now.
mhm. And I mean, when we talk about Saquon, I think we also have to talk about Derrick Henry. And, Henry, 140 yards last night, like no slouch himself. And this week, I mean, I saw somewhere online, like this is a week where, it harkens back to the early 2000s where you could market entire weeks off of running back matchups. And Barkley versus Henry, Eagles, Ravens, it's going to be quite a showdown this week.
Yeah, there's great games this week. It's a good slate for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump in and take a look at some of these metrics.
Yeah, I think they're because I don't know if it's because of Thanksgiving, but there are no buys this week after, I think they run until week 15, but no team is on a buy this week. So we got a lot of good action.
hmm and multiple games, three games on Thursday, right? Three on
We got three Thursday,
Thursday.
and then we got one on Friday. So it's like, we got
Mhm.
lots of stuff happen. It's awesome. It's a great week
Yeah.
of football.
Um, Here is kind of the most used players. Again, we had close to, I think, over 3,000 lineups last week. So lots of players here, and these are kind of the most picked ones. You can't see it here because again, we talk about kind of the top five at each position, but something like nine of the top 15 were all running backs. Like we
Wow.
only showed the top five here, but
Yeah.
the 6 through 10 was still more picked than just about any other player on this list.
Yeah.
Which,
It's not surprising, and I think it's the way the game plays, and people are seeing that. Since there's not a half point or point per reception, running backs are just more powerful, I think, in smash up.
mhm. Um,
I'd let you prove me wrong with data, but that's been my thought.
It certainly has definitely felt that way. We had that one week, which was the Jamar Chase week. And,
Yep.
you'll have that when you have, a wide receiver just go off. That being said, there will be some new cards coming soon. That's going to be powering up or hopefully balancing it a little bit more, and letting more of those receivers shine. But I
Right.
agree with you. Like right now, I mean, you still have to be good at picking your running backs, but
Hmm.
when Barkley and Henry are just going nuts, like it's not hard to pick, at least one
Yeah.
of the top three backs every week.
Yeah, and I mean Robinson Jr. I mean he got hurt pretty early and didn't have a great game. Mixon wasn't really anything great. You know, Tracy on the Giant. I mean, a lot of the guys that you kind of thought might have something. It wasn't in my opinion an overly great week for running backs, but the ones that blew up, they blew up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can definitely see that. I mean, when we look at the most played cards, I think this is the first time we have three lineup cards in the top 10. So we have Ride or Die, we have Hellacious Halfbacks, and then we have Home Field Advantage. Three in the top 10. And I know quite a few people play Hurricane Season as well. So lots there. This is also one of the first weeks that Run CMC and Human Vulture was not in the number one spot. And it wasn't close. Like
Yeah.
starting running back was just dominant. And I think that really speaks to kind of what you see. Again, Run CMC always up here. And when we look at the top combos,
Yeah.
Barkley in here three times, McCaffrey, Mixon, Achan, like this is basically outside
Yeah.
of Amon Ra. I think it's all running
Yep.
backs.
Sure is. Yep.
Um, how many? So we play this game every week. How many run CMCs hit this week?
I would say two, but I don't know that I can think of the two other than with Barkley.
So that's exactly right. It's two. It's Barkley and Bucky.
I know Achan didn't.
Bucky.
Okay, Irving hit it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. He had that long
Not
one.
not many people would have played it on Bucky, but like
Yeah.
here's the thing, right? Like Run CMC did incredibly well because Saquon now has hit it back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
And he happens to be the one that a lot of people play it on. I still don't think it's a great like every week it only hits on, one or two, and sometimes it's like a random person, but when Barkley's just going nuts, it's a
It's
safer
just too
play.
tempting, Haibo. It's a $2,500 card with a 30-point payout. I think that's the lowest price, even though we know the odds aren't in your favor.
Hmm. Yep. And all this talk about oh, sorry. And again, remember that Jamar Chase week when we said
Mhm.
48 of the top 50 teams play Jamar Chase?
Yeah.
Well, look here.
Yeah.
48 again of the top 50 teams had Saquon in their lineup.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah. I'm guessing the ones that didn't were what, 49 and 50?
yeah, it's
I don't know how you're there without Saquon. What a week.
I will say you're cheerleading for Turpin. Turpin, 10 of the top 50.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, when he got you play it right with the special teams ace, so when
right
he had
here.
18 points on that touchdown, I mean that was nice. I think he ended up with like 60 points.
Hmm. We've also seen a ton of, and we've talked about it week after week, but a ton of roll of the dice on Montgomery and Gibbs. And with Montgomery, unfortunately getting injured, he definitely hit that roll of the dice,
Yeah.
hit there, and did very well smash up wise, um, with that play. Again, you see Hurricane Season up here alongside Ride or Die and halfbacks. So we talked a lot about Barkley, and I felt like we, we just need to watch this. I mean, it's oh my God.
Yeah. It's too
Who did?
much.
Yeah. Um, all right. Well, let's take a look at the top lineup for this week. So within weekly. within our tournament. Congratulations to Faucion for winning. Very close. It won by
Hmm.
point 0.3
Wow.
over 1 by 0.3. And again, look at the difference here. 149 card points. BF2 had the much better player selection. But the card points here put him over.
Hey, if I could
Just
make a
squeaked by.
product request, I wish you
Mhm.
could click on player points just to see who, make those headings sortable. I think it'd be fun to see where people kind of rank on the best card versus the best points.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea.
Hey, there's Stony Montana. We've seen him as a winner before, or them as a
Yep,
winner before.
yep. Stony, Montana, finishing 12th. Um,
Didn't Mahali's won too? Yeah, we've got a few winners in there.
yeah. It was a very high scoring week. I think this is one of the
Sure.
highest scoring weeks that we've seen. And here, like certainly again, you see the running back focus here with hurricane season and kind of hellacious halfbacks, but that's not why he won. He won because those
Yep.
two things that we said, the Turpin plus the special teams ace, like
Yep. Yep.
53 points for $1,500 is bonkers.
When it hits, it hits.
And then roll of the dice on Montgomery as well. 26 points for 1,500. So he spent 3,000 and basically got like 90 points off of 3,000, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So we have that, and then let's take a look at number two. BF2, like again, lost out by point 0.3. No lineup cards. So very interesting here. No lineup cards. Um, they just did really
Lucky.
well. I
Yeah,
mean,
great lineup.
yeah, CMC on Saquon, rolled the dice on Montgomery. They took Bucky with Freight Train and that long run there. Um, and then Terry with Speed Demon. Terry was
Boy.
not looking great for most of the
Nope.
game.
Nope.
Um, but only takes one. Only takes one. Um, yeah, yeah,
Great lineup.
pretty interesting
I
here.
can't imagine anyone having better scores than these two folks we just looked at.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, normally we go and we talk
Wait, is that
about
us setting our lineup last week? What are we
Uh,
watching here?
well, normally, we switch over after the weekly and talk about the Road to Glory, our single player campaign. Every week we've been revealing a new boss, and now we are up to the final boss, boss 6. Who's it gonna be? Oh, not this week.
Tune in next
Owen,
week.
why why are we not showing off boss number 6 this week?
Well, Haibo, that's because your friends on this podcast pitched a complete shutout last week.
Really? Why don't we take a look?
Let's have a look at that lineup that we saw constructed real time on this show with no
Oh,
practice. No practice.
oh
We don't prep
man.
this, everyone. This is just Haibo and I winging it. And look at this lineup.
You know how 271 points won the weekly? Well, looky
If,
here. You
if
know,
anyone would have copied our lineup, well, maybe
uh,
not, because we did have an unfair advantage with Risk It for the Biscuit.
um, I will say, Owen and I, we get most, I would say we get most of our picks wrong, right? Like week to week, we kind of take our lumps. So when it hits, we're gonna pat ourselves on the back.
That's right.
Um,
283. Let's look at that beauty.
283. So risk it for the biscuit. 3 of the 7 hit. So 60 points off risk it for the biscuit. Definitely that pair. One of the things that we've seen kind of drop off with the running backs coming up, we've really kind of stopped seeing a lot of the Hail Mary speed demon
Mhm.
combo on the quarterback receiver combo. But it's still like when you think about like a dark horse or a strategy to get first, that Hail Mary speed demon combo, is still really powerful.
Yeah, it's a 60 points that's almost going to hit together, right? It's
Hmm.
when it hits, you got 60. Boy, looking at our misses, the Washington defense likely. I'm okay with Pierce because he had like a 39-yard catch. So he almost got us our 20. But Washington was a letdown. They missed out on the defense wins championships, and then likely what a dud.
Likely, yeah. Derrick Henry had a 27-yard run. So
Oh,
he was 3 yards off. Like we could have put up 40 more points if
couple more yards.
couple more yards. And will we see the first ever 300 point smash up lineup? Who
Look,
knows?
it is a great lineup, and it was fun to set that live with you. But Brandon Aubrey was my favorite play out of all of our plays, right? Double doink, and just like, how is this hitting? Like, it was just fantastic.
I will say last week when we were setting it, I was like, no way. Like Aubrey's been one of the best kickers in
Yeah.
the game. But man,
This was when it was going on. I texted Haibo and I was like, "Did we play double doink on Aubrey?" And Haibo was like, "We sure did." That was fun.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
now we blew it, right? Because we're meeting on Tuesday. We can't set our lineup together. But
I
I think since
know.
no one copied our lineup,
Well, everyone well, let's take a look. By and large, this was a very good week for the bosses. Last week
yeah,
was a really good week for the players. I think we saw something like 70, 80, 90% pass rates through most of the bosses. This week was a good week for the bosses. Only 27 won against Newbie, 23 against Deadeye, about 100 won against Smash Mouth, but that's still only, out of, the
yeah.
330 that played. Um, Only 3 won against Scott Fish last week. And then, we have our shutout here. So Scott Fish is going and kind of West Coast is going to have a big influx here. And it's going to have about 100 people playing. And then yeah, this is a big week and we'll see how folks do.
This is great.
And for, the three new people coming into roulette, welcome. And Owen and I will set the lineup off off podcast this week, but I'm sure we'll talk about it next week some more as well.
Good. And no pressure. Worst case, we only let three people through, so that's all right.
Yeah.
Well, no, sorry. We'll have 17 up against us. Okay, sorry.
Yep. All right. Well, I wanted to kind of close this week by talking about our special tournament this week. So this week of Thanksgiving, we are doing a special charity week here at SmashUp. We're calling it Tackle Cancer Before the Snap. This week only, for every user who plays any of our games. So you could play weekly, you could play against us in single player, you can play league. Any user who sets any lineup will make a donation to the V Foundation. We're partnering with Scott Fishbowl and Fantasy Cares, two of the biggest kind of charities within fantasy football. They've raised a huge amount of money, and we are kind of working with them to fundraise for the V Foundation. So because it's by user, the more users who play, the more we donate. And the bigger impact we'll make. So we are also offering a special kind of referral drawing. 20 $25 gift cards up for grabs. Every referral that you make will be an entry into the drawing. So if you make 20 referrals, that's 20 entries, and you could win all 20 gift cards. So there's kind of no limit. It's for a great cause. The more people who play, the more the bigger impact, the larger donation. And if you can, take a moment, go out to your friends, family, colleagues, other folks, completely free to play, easy to sign up. And again, each referral is another entry into the drawing.
Yeah.
And mhm.
Sorry, Hab, I was just going to say with these extra entries, everyone, I have some fun with it. Just play a lineup with your family on Thanksgiving where you just use those three games because you get multiple entries. Just have some fun with it. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do with this game to kind of make it real interesting for the people, your loved ones you're spending time with. So I love this. I love everything about it.
And, we're really focused around the V Foundation and focused around cancer and kind of cancer prevention. So prior to doing SmashUp, I spent almost a decade in cancer and kind of cancer prevention. And I have to say, like, there are so many things that you can do when we talk about, things that you can do, new drugs that are coming out, new treatments. There's a ton of research going on. There's a ton of advancement in cancer treatment and helping folks survive and kind of manage that. But at the end of the day, there's one thing that just overwhelmingly dominates anything else you can do, and that is get your screenings. I mean, that's really it. The earlier you catch cancer, the more treatable, the more preventable it is. I always like to show this chart because it's pretty incredible. This is basically the 5-year survival rates. So how many people are still alive after 5 years with these types of cancers if you catch it at stage 1 versus catching it at stage 4, right? And, you know, breast cancer, if you catch breast cancer at stage 0 or stage 1, it's something like a 98% plus 5-year survival rates. Prostate cancer, if you catch it early, you know, people die with prostate cancer, not because of prostate cancer, right? Like it is survivable, it's treatable, 99% plus. And you see this across the board, lung cancer at 90, colon at 91, melanoma. If you find skin cancer early, 98% survival rates over 5 years. Versus if you don't, right? If you
Yeah.
don't do your screenings, you don't get and it can be a pain sometimes, right? Like I personally have never had a colonoscopy, but I've heard that it's not pleasant. And certainly, it's one of the things where it's like, oh, I'll put it off, I'll put it off. Um, this is the difference. If you put it off and you catch it at stage 3, stage 4, the survival rates drop astronomically, right? Like only 7% of people with metastatic lung cancer survive for 5 years, right? As opposed to 90% small. This is non-small cell lung cancer, and you can see this kind of across the board. The number one thing you can do is get your screenings, do prevention, and that's really what one of the key facets of the V Foundation. So this Thanksgiving, in addition to playing Smash Up, definitely talk to your family. If you haven't done your screenings this year, please go do them. And one of the huge reasons we're partnering with the V Foundation is because prevention is one of their core tenets. And, a lot of this money is going to go towards programs around how to get people into screenings, how we get, folks more access to screenings and kind of developing these programs. And ultimately, it makes a world of difference. And so in addition to the tournament, we are actually launching a new card next week. There will be a brand new card for this week, which actually opens tomorrow. It's going to be called V for Victory. And it is a lineup-based card. So just like Home Field Advantage and Ride or Die, it's a brand new lineup-based card. I believe it's coming in at 3,500. So it'll be a relatively affordable card. And basically, every player whose team wins, you get a 1.25x multiplier. And if their NFL team loses, you get a 0.75x multiplier. So,
That's fun.
you want to pick players who you think are going to win this week.
The stack of this card with a home field advantage and then with a ride or die though, right? You make your pick, line them all up. I mean, that's a way to really clear the deck there. I love this.
So I actually think it's priced so you can't do that exact step.
Oh, of course. Oh, come on.
But you can pair it with like home field advantage is basically a more powerful version of this because you pick who's at home, right? So you know who you're going to get this bonus. But home
Yeah.
field advantage costs 6,000. It's like double the cost of this. So this is almost like a super value home field advantage version, which you can get for almost half the price. If you pick players that you think are going to win.
Well, then I take it back and I say you stack it with ride or die, right? I mean, you do that, and then if your team wins, you're getting kind of multiple hits there. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that next week and see how many stack these together.
Yeah. You know, maybe we do that in our maybe we do that for roulette this week. All right. Well, yeah. Owen, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And yeah, and for everyone listening and watching, please go out, refer, play this week, get other people to play. It's for a great cause. And together, we can all tackle cancer before the snap.
Yeah,
So
great PSA. Thanks for sharing those numbers, Haibo. Have an awesome Thanksgiving. Love doing this with you.
thanks. Me too. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. And to everyone listening, have a wonderful Thanksgiving and good luck this week.